Welcome to the episode 6 of the Frostbites podcast. My name is Minna and I'm coming to you from Finland. You can find me on Ravelry and on Instagram as Finfrost. And we have a Ravelry group which you are welcome to join. It's called the Frostbites podcast. Today I am welcoming you to my home because it is too cold and too snowy to film outside. My equipment wouldn't work in these temperatures, and it can get really cold if I was to sit down for an hour in the snow. So from now on I will be filming at home. And I apologize for the poor lighting. I've been fighting with it for a long time, and then I finally just decided that I don't care because there's not that much that I can do. I've been changing the light bulbs and trying to place the lights in different places, but it really doesn't help, and my camera isn't that good, the one that I'm using, so bear with me. Today is the 30th of November. It's Sunday and it's Father's Day in Finland, and it is around 4 o'clock, I think. No, it's almost 4:30, and it's really dark outside already. So it is going to be a challenge with the lighting from now on until springtime, so I might have to try to figure out something to get the house a bit brighter. Anyway, let's begin with the knitting. It's been 3 weeks since I last podcast, and I was going to film a new episode about a week after the previous one, but I didn't, and then I was going to do it the next weekend, but I didn't, and now I feel like I'm out of the loop here, but I will try to make my way through the things. It's funny how you get out of practice in such a short time. But let's begin with the knitting. Since I last podcast, I've been mostly knitting socks, as you might have imagined. That's pretty much all I can manage these days with work and everything else. I just can't be bothered to be thinking too much about the knitting. I just want something fairly simple and something that's portable, and socks are great for that. Last month, which was October, I joined the La Bien Amy's Socktober knit along, and I was able to finish 3 pairs of socks. I think I've shown you the 2 pairs that I entered for that earlier, and the third one that I entered is this pair, which I knit in Dingo Dye Works Ridgy Ditch yarn, which is extra fine merino. It's 85 merino, 15 nylon, and it's the softest yarn I've ever knitted with. I really enjoyed it, and I've been waiting for the moment that I can wear these socks, but I didn't want to wear them before I showed them on the podcast. The color is off, totally off in this lighting. the dark part is tonal gray. You can somewhat see the variation in the color, and the pink is really highlighter neon pink. This is a bit better, but it's still not bright enough. These are the Susan B. Anderson Smooth Operator socks, and I need them, I think I need them cuff down. Can't remember anymore. Yes, cuff down. So it's got an afterthought heel, and yeah, I don't really have a lot to say about these other than the yarn is amazing, and if you haven't checked out Peta's Dingo Dye Works yarn, I would definitely recommend. She's based in Perth, I think, in Australia, and it really is really good quality and the softest yarn ever. So I am really looking forward to wearing these socks. Then I think, yeah, that's the only finished object that I have. I might also mention my scarf that I'm wearing. You probably recognize it. It's the Doodler by Steven West. It is last year's mystery knit along, and I knitted in Hedgehog Fibers sock yarn, and I'm really pleased with the result. But all the way I was knitting it, I was afraid that the colors wouldn't go together. Oh, and suddenly we have light. So I started with the very variegated yarn called Genie, and then I can't remember what this gray yarn is, and then on the third part, which is the edging, or the part before the final edging, this is Teacup. And all along I was doubting that, especially with the Genie, that it would be too busy for the body, but I really like how it turned out. I've been wearing it a lot. It's one of my favorite scarves, and the shape is quite unusual, and sometimes it's a bit difficult to know how to wear them, but I just normally, I either put it on my shoulders like this. It's quite large, so it covers my shoulders and my back, so it's really warm. Or I just wear it like a normal scarf around my neck, like this, but you just have to adjust it a little bit. I was really pleased with the construction and all the parts of it. It was really interesting to knit. Fairly simple, even though it looks complicated. There were short rows, I-cord edging, the widest cable you've ever seen on the edge. Here's the wider end. And I've never done a cable in garter stitch either, so that was interesting. And I forgot what these are called. Picot Edging or something. I've never done Picot before knitting. I have crocheted it but never knit, so it was quite interesting to make it and learn how to do it. I wanted to do the Picot for decorational purposes. There was an option also to leave it out, but I really like how it adds to the special character of the scarf, so I wanted to make it. This year I didn't take part in the Mystery Knit Along. Stephen West had the scarf or the shawl is called Building Blocks, but I think now that I've seen the result, I think I might knit it one day because I really like the design and I've seen so many beautiful color choices, and all in all it's an interesting shape again from Stephen, so I might knit it in the future. Okay, so that's all the FOs, and we will move on to works in progress. As I said, I've been knitting socks, and last time I filmed I was doing these körttisukat socks, which I will show you on the blocker as well. I finished the other one, but I haven't started the other one. So this is quite an old Finnish sock pattern, and I think it was probably grey and some other color that they used before, but this one is made using purple and this quite colorful unicorn color, which is actually a bit like the Hedgehog Fibers Genie, but I think the tones are more earthy on this one. The yarn is Knitlops Lair Väinämöinen, which I'm using for most of my socks. It's really sturdy with a high twist, and the colors are beautiful, so I really like working with it, and it's local to me, so that's a good bonus. So I have the other sock waiting, but I haven't really been in the mood for making the other one, so instead of casting the second sock for this pair, I've been casting on new socks, which I'm going to show you next. This is another pair I'm working on, and I also finished the first sock of this pair. The yarn is the same, different colorways. This colorway is called Vilja, and this one is called Kerä ensimmäinen. It's also a variegated yarn, and I really like how it looks on the Blueberry Waffle stitch pattern. I didn't actually follow the Blueberry Waffle sock pattern, but I just made it my own version. I just took the broken rib pattern from it. I used again Susan B. Anderson's afterthought heel from the smooth operator socks, but the way I did the beginning of the heel, I wasn't using waste yarn as on the smooth operator socks, but instead I used the Kirby Werby afterthought heel with no waste yarn tutorial, which you can find on YouTube. I saw Jody from the Grocery Girls refer to it, and it sounded really interesting because it doesn't leave any holes on the sides, and it sounded quite simple, and you don't have to play with the waste yarn. So I really wanted to see how it works, and I really like it, and I think that's going to be my go-to heel from now on. But for the rest of the heel I did use Susan B. Anderson's smooth operator sock heel. And the second one I already started. The leg is nearly done. I still have a few rows until the heel, but with the Kirby Werby afterthought heel you don't really have to worry that much about the heel because you don't use the waste yarn. But as you can see, I didn't do the blueberry waffle pattern on the sole, so in that sense you have to keep track where you are and know when to stop, where the heel, you have to know where the heel is going to be so that you know to change the pattern for the sole. So I think about 10 rows and then I am at the heel, and then I will start knitting in stockinette for the other needle. So those are coming along quite nicely. This is the yarn I'm using. I think it's a unique colorway for a Finnish yarn shop. I got it from Craft Fair, where I went to about a month ago, I think, which I mentioned in my last episode. And I think I said it already, but it is the same sock yarn that I've been mostly using, Knitlops Lair Väinämöinen. And the colorway, oops, this is the, yeah, this is for the cuffs and toes of this one. Or maybe it isn't, because I think the Gelta Multa that is written here, I think it's a bit brighter yellow, so I might have mixed the tags, but anyway, the yarn is the same. And then I have started another new pair, which I have in my beautiful Lone Large Designs project bags that I ordered from Canada, from Jenny of the Lone Large podcast, and I just love this fabric. It's Lake Revelstoke. No, I think it's Winter in Lake Revelstoke. So it's this snowy forest, which is exactly the kind of scenery that we have right now in Finland. And Jenny even sent me her cute little pin or a badge. And it's got a leaf motif on the zipper pull, and the lining is beautiful, sparkly. I think you can see that sparkle on the little dots. And this is this bag is housing my other sock project that I started, but I'm not sure if I'm going to show you this because it is a gift knit, but I think I will show you the yarn that I'm using. It's again Dingo Dye Works, colorway Mogo. It's the same base, so it's the Rigid Itch merino, superfine merino base that Picot has, and it's soft like a cloud. And I actually started working on this yarn to make a pair of my own lemur sock pattern, but as I suspected, this yarn was too busy for that pattern, so after I knit about this much I ripped it off because the pattern wasn't really showing. So I didn't think that it was going to work, so I cast it on something else, but I will show it to you later when the person who gets these has received them. Speaking of my lemur socks, sorry, I just took the sock out of my my foot. I have been wearing this quite a lot. So this is my lemur sock pattern, which is available on Ravelry, and we are having a lemur's cowl in the podcast group in Ravelry, and you still have time to join in if you like. You just need to get the pattern from Ravelry and start knitting, and you have time until the end of this year, and then I will draw a few winners. You will find more details on one of my previous episodes, or if you go to our Ravelry group, all the information is in the lemur's cowl thread. We have two separate threads for the cowl. There's a chattered thread where you can show pictures about your yarn and your progress, and a few people have already done that. It's really nice to see the different yarn choices that you've chosen, and also to see how the pattern looks. It's a surprise to me every time that something that I designed is really working, and it's exciting to see that people actually understand what I've been writing on the pattern. It is my first design, so it's everything is very new to me in that field. And I will be making a couple of these kind of project bags for prizes for the chattered thread and also the finished objects thread. The fabric might not be the exact same fabric as on this bag. This is a Marimekko fabric. It will be another type of Marimekko fabric. Also for the lining, this one is actually lined with the same fabric as my curtains behind me. And if you are a maker and you want to donate something for our cowl, let me know. Okay, then I have another work in progress, which is a sewing project that I've been sharing with you already in the previous episodes. It's a t-shirt, or well, it's a t-shirt, short sleeved shirt anyway, which I am making at a pattern course where I go to each week. I haven't been able to go there this week, and nowadays I just can't find the motivation to sew that much at home, so I haven't done anything except for what I've been doing on the course. But I have been sewing it together. This is the, let me take my scarf off. This is the front. So it's going to have a V-neck, and the fabric had this grid pattern on both sides. So I've been trying to place it so that it runs in the middle. I made a little mistake here, which I'm not sure if I'm going to try to fix it or not. I can't fix it anymore with the fabric. As you can see, it's not a continuous pattern. This pattern should be going all the way to here where it meets the other part of the grid. I will either leave it as it is, or I might see if I can do a couple of stitches in a thread which is this color. So I might just do a couple of stitches to connect these squares on both sides. But I don't know, I have to see when it's a bit further to see if it bothers me, but I don't know. Maybe when you're wearing it you probably don't even notice it. So that's the front part, and then I already made the back piece from a different fabric to make sure that the length is what I want it to be, because in the back I wanted to have the grid pattern in the hem, and I only had about this much of the fabric left, so I really needed to know the exact length of the back so that I could place the grid pattern to the right place. So next week I am going to continue with my facing for the neckline and then connect the pieces, and I don't think that it will last me very long to make it all ready. So it's coming along quite nicely. And the fabric I'm using is something that I ordered from Etsy from Japan. I think the shop is called Miss Watatabe or Watabe or something like that. And it's this double gaze cotton, very thin and soft cotton. It's a Nani Iro design fabric. I've been looking at those fabrics for a long time, and now I finally ordered some, and I'm really pleased at how this is coming along. What else? Some yarn acquisitions. I only have 2 skeins that I have acquired within these 3 weeks. I've been quite good. I have been wanting to order a lot of different things, but I've been trying to control myself because I don't have enough time to knit all the yarn I already have. But this yarn I really wanted to get because it's a fairly new Finnish yarn dyer who hand dyes these yarns in our capital city of Helsinki, and the yarn is called Lustig yarn, and the yarn that I have is their merino single base. It's 100% superwash merino. It's 366 meters per 100 grams, and she has very beautiful colorful dyes, or yarn I should say. And my friend went to Helsinki a couple of weeks ago, and I knew that there was a yarn shop which sold this yarn, and I asked her to bring me some. And I looked online, and they had several colorways still available when I looked, and I told my friend which one I liked. And when she was in the yarn shop, she called me and she said that they don't have the one that I want. So I had a chat with the owner of the shop, and she described to me which colorways she had. They were only these two. So this one is really pale green, and the other one is more natural white, or maybe a bit of like a creamy color for the most part, and then some colorful speckles. The green isn't really showing on the video, but it is a really pale green. I don't know yet what I'm going to do with these, but I'm guessing either a scarf or a beanie. But I'm hoping to get some contrast color, some darker color to go with them. So I'm going to Helsinki myself in a couple of weeks, so if I have time I will go to the yarn shop again and see if they have a new dye lot available. I think it feels quite a lot like the Hedgehog Fibers Skinny Singles base. It's quite similar. Oh, and the colorway names, the green one is called Kyoto. Oops, it's upside down. Kyoto. And the natural white is called Candy Day. In the end, I will show you a few photos and maybe a video clip from the past couple of weeks. We had our first snow about 3 days after I filmed my last episode. It was a Wednesday 2.5 weeks ago, and since then we've had the snow on the ground, so it's been really beautiful and a lot brighter than what it was before we got the snow, because the days are so short. The sun sets around, I think, 5-ish. So after that, every day you come home from work, it's already dark, and when there's no snow, it really is dark. You can hardly see anything on the roads. But when the snow comes, everything brightens up, and the trees are so beautiful, especially this morning. It was quite foggy last night, and I think the humidity somehow got stuck on the trees and froze on the needles of the trees and on the branches, and everything was really beautiful this morning when I woke up. So I have some footage from a walk outside from today, and also from last weekend when I went to the Hailuoto Island on the ferry. While I was waiting for the ferry, it was really cold, it was really windy, and it was snowing a little bit, but it was also really beautiful. And on this weekend and also last weekend, I've had the opportunity to go out in the dark to fry some sausages on the campfire. So I will put a photo of that too in the end. I think that's all for today. I hope you will have a good and crafty week ahead of you, and that you will enjoy wintertime if you live in a place where it's winter, and if you are on the southern hemisphere, I hope that it's not too hot for you. Anyway, happy knitting and have a great time. Bye!